long life. Globe, species value nutrition. My name is Anthony Wall. I was right next to the World Trade Center towers right before the attack and the night before. Years leading up to that, in that context and since, where are people that I don't know the names of and some that I do, who were involved. Also, a former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, who had already attached the identities individually grouped and together from our own countries and from the attacking countries to force roles and collusions with what has been manifest tied to the World Trade Center and tied to Washington, D.C., and tied to insurrection treatments, for example, that left out and leave out worse than just consciously how the breaching method was applied to these subjects, how that which forced our founders to counter extort the other founders because they had found out who was really behind putting up that crazy, people pretending to be fighting about other things for just the only reason they had a unity. There was slavery still entrenched in northern colonies and southern, and that's still recorded self-valued by experts who came through criminally foreign influence, simultaneously tactically delusions wrought, and simultaneously worse because that is being and having been employed not to all the other known and unfathomed natures of corruption and of elements to things that were propagated to take blame for what it caused and maintains. Things with the worst statistics. See, statistical and studies of issues, they make evidential treatments where they cannot, as types of experts that are consciously methodically maintained, incapable of defending their logic and of affording any individual a quality of fact treatment nature to proper with short words regarding logic that is proper for little kids and simultaneously sickly distinctly preventing logic that is proper and capable of middle-aged people, etc. See, we have been separated from the employments that nature has for the awareness of each age and for the genius of it. See, they've been applied now to other systems tactically ulterior from the one that is dealing with positive and negative as an exception nature. That increasingly, in ways that increasingly these systems abridged from its own cannot afford the revelations that come from the short words. They're using truths that are true always. Truths are used for lies by people that are offensively pretending passions and emotions not to realize differential criminal foreign influences exist. Our founders communicated for us to demonstrate this. And they wanted nothing to do with slavery. See, through our schools, we have evidential treatments that left out the criminally foreign influence database relationships, that left out how they were measuring to hurt and worse, who was behind that trick that involved counter-extorting the other founders, let alone everybody else. Slavery was still entrenched north and south. The same thing that was used to extort and enslave everyone sickly distinctly too, because it knew that would also refer to slavery as those formerly directed to be referred to as slaves. But everyone was a slave sickly distinctly. This had already been before our founders' parents were born. The suburbs were designed. Already had been sustained against Native Americans against Native Americans, which is humanity against humanity, because they tactically denatured Earth as the suburbs, let alone the cities. The breaching method measured and maintained is left out when they were fighting all along the way, or just ignoring things all along the way when the infrastructure means to it. All positive and negative treatments. Many ways, increasingly, all that has been allowed to be heard are identities of logic that use criminal insidious, that are relying upon criminal insidiousness natures of positive treatments, of negative treatments, and of identity treatments. So they have been pretending things are debatable that are not. And this has stayed because we have to address differentially criminally foreign influence. See, no one wanted roles with that breaching method, crazy slavery of themselves. But this method made exceptions by exploiting, A, therefore, B logic. And where there are, by exploiting at formal locations that were the same way, differentially criminally foreign influence. No one wants to be part of campuses that have criminal foreign influences. But there are, and that's what's relative, where and how such serious subjects have been not given seriousness, and other has been pretended. So we have to address criminal insidiousness natures of passions and emotions treatments that pretend seriousness, but they're fake. In other words, we have to understand American history relative to the principles, as the principles are set forth, and by the identity of that is hyper simultaneous, that one which revealed us distinctly as simultaneously as an individual, as a simultaneous nature, simultaneously as a sequence nature, a part of where and how the species body is a simultaneous nature, a part of where and how we are grouped by nature is a value progression. In other words, these are three identities of relationship to itself, its volume system. The one that has other species the same exact way manifest, has exceptions in exception nature. In demonstration, for example, of that and how it uses exception nature distinctly from all other identities of volume, where and how it is generating more of itself, the identity of the hyper-simultaneous, as a distinct identity of hyper-invisible, but still discernible, that comes with and came with languages as it had been presented to the ancients by the ancients before the sciences became criminally foreign influenced, tactically criminally foreign influenced in semi-ancient times. And that is to say, hyper-tactically / tactically, because it was one singular human nature breaching method. But it's also a method that is through our own. So modern countries are a certain type of victim predator / hyper victim, hyper predator, that to define their notions of in the relativity of theater treatments of positive and negative, A, therefore, B, and which are simultaneously theater treatments of the significance of the relativity of exceptions and of exception nature. So this employed the perception of everyone themselves to roles with the identity theft / fraud / slander method manifest three ways distinctly relative to as nature demonstrated. The breaching method, the singular breaching method that all self-filed roles with, it employed uses of words like in names, like the names of modern countries, A through Z, individually grouped and together, and measured and maintained them, self-valuing themselves. Individuals grouped and together, tactical interior from how nature wants us and needs us to understand how individual, grouped, and species volume works. So don't stay stupid jerks. Since some ancient times, your minds. Prepare your minds. See, I teach us things, but wrong. I'll shut up box, some rest, some pace. See what's in place. So mandated law is not followed, and the other has to be pretended. The breaching method that already used every modern formal branch of government, every formal fact-keeping nature, individually grouped it together. This is relevant to the answer/S that are coming for the students. Here, top best, America, awake! CT must break. I told lies. One must understand criminal insidiousness as an identity of the grounds, identity of relationship to itself. Hyper-additional is where and how our identities as the species are. Is hyper-additional to and with the identity that is forcing this to be more and more value, where value is value as nature/nature as value as volume, where as an extent we can discern to an extent that and how the hyper-simultaneous is an increasing identity of volume that is making more of itself through what is temporary/lasting. And even if you don't agree about this, for one thing, for example, this is what English was revealed to be taught, be teaching, by the way it is designed. So these rules come from reading the nature of English grammar itself. For example, there is the subordinated conjunction. There's a coordinating conjunction, and there's a correlative conjunction. These are three ways, distinctly, non-distinctly, hyper-simultaneously, hyper-additionally with how words like and or but are also conjunctions. It also has nature, and where nature is value/value as nature. And so it's easier to see, some ways to discern, some ways where and how, what, the identity, invisible but still discernible identity of conjunction/S. That as their nature, where they are overtly nature. Correlative conjunction, coordinating conjunction, subordinated conjunction. There's other ways easier to discern the identity of a conjunction by discerning it through where there are physical words, like and could be used as a coordinating or a correlative conjunction as a physical word, but is a subordinated conjunction. See, the mind is identity. Possession/hyperpossession. And everything can't help but have hyperpossession of everything, because everything is generated by the same shared identity. Its identity in relation to itself, and the value of that Earth's a special difference, which is hyper-additional with and as our own special difference, and all the other identities with Earth. See, but one thing about going to space we have to understand. One thing, same thing, it has to do with how the cities, urban and suburban, were designed before our founding parents were born. And that breaching method was crazy slavery laws against every single person. That if you weren't entertaining the criminal and citizen's natures of positive treatments and or negative treatments, and identity treatment simultaneously, and or ignoring it, and or blaming other things, others, ourselves, for what was causing it, that person was designed to be sought, to be sensed, and hurt by the only capable of being identities of ground employments before the formal employments on the books. This is a conscious propagation of simultaneously of differences between Native Americans and of unities between them as criminal and insidious natures of unities, while it was measuring and maintaining more and more, everyone using other words, entertaining and valuing other words in place of the ones that had been taken from their, and from, everyone's generation. We are in a semi-ancient trap. Species body longs, full out, pure rap, vaccine. So to stop predicate acts, for example, at locations, predicate acts methods, without having, in other words, they're pretending that things can be solved before courts that know consciously. They're shown that. They're for certain type of victim / hyper victim, the breaching method set up all crazy things that no one would and want. Specifically having blamed on other things others themselves. Specifically where and how. Effectively, methodically. Qualities of fact-keeping nature are maintained offensively in front that are what is really most furthering where and how even consciously is what is recorded, where and how they have statistics and they study types of subjects treatment. How many things bad happen to women? How many things bad happen to boys, girls? Where? There are individuals who are formal and private tied to them interbranch, who have more predicate acts against others and against whole areas than there are streets in our cities. And these are the people that are involved with names in the news that are charged with passions, emotions, speaking about things like crimes. See, that people could sense that they have roles with predicate acts methods way worse than the people that they're putting in jails, who generations of their families, no matter if they're from the colonists, where they came after, and no chief and president still incompatible, but forced to be together. So our founders had to force the other founders counter a story too. That includes the other Native American founders. The Native Americans are America's founders because they left a state of humanity that was still fighting. The breaching method itself, singular. It was a breaching method /s, specifically syntactically to stay hidden behind the +/s. I tell the best vaccines. I teach us things or Sherlock's. No, in other words, look at the militaries. All these resources, defense, to want to defend someone, to get on track. More bodies than will deny it would agree that the species volume science has been abridged since semi-ancient times. In other words, and if who denies it, their logic's going to have inherent active progressive demonstrations of it. See, now, this method already painted into corners the interbranch, fabricating audio and video at locations as roles with crime scenes, with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and relevant insidiousness of people's opinions A through Z. The uses of word in defense of that, like voting. Get the slavery method unhinged before you start speaking about voting. Get understood where and how distinctly the North and the South were still roles with that slavery method distinctly against everyone. Still hiding consciously behind how it was other countries still used remotely. Those weren't their real identity. That's not the identity of the volume sciences, humanities. Why and how we have black pupils, whites of eyes, exceptions in exception nature, different colorized at the same time. And nature answers our questions, but we have other in their place. We have interbranch and private tied to them recorded using words like delusions as a name calling because they're wrought with delusions. And these are the adults that are supposed to be the experts on them and their kids, let alone their kids. So we have the intelligence community has roles with doctors of the mind who are tactically delusions wrought, criminally foreign influence, have been using their roles planting evidences at other locations and to branch. Little trick fact-checking nature. They painted themselves in corners. You should see what's actually recorded. Fear! They switched names, so we need to have a means peacefully to counter. See, they prevent people means peacefully or aggressive. And then they attach us to fake aggression and fake, other nature, there are all kinds of descriptions of us into databases by whole cliques that are involved with like mental health. Like we have real health care juxtaposed with criminally foreign influenced health care, especially how it is with mental health care and with drugs. These are the people most involved with how to count with the problems with fentanyl, even if it was made up, because these are people involved with the news media locations and locations next to them, since they were kids involved with federal crimes with databases, with evidences, with wire crimes, as police forms, as court families, their family members, their neighbors, every place next to every place. This is forcing everyone to use other people's names. Then they pretend passions and emotions from backgrounds, and they try to make fake exceptions with the newspaper and fabricating conversations with me. They've been using exception dates from criminally because these are people involved with campuses of each age and nature, intercities, criminally with each of the sciences. Now, these are people long been criminally involved as the policing of the internet, therefore social media that have been. To understand that, you have to understand what they were doing between campuses with criminally foreign influence uses of databases and since before computers. So we're going to address the reported worsening criminal incompetence and tactical delusions relevant to the streams of people going into courts that where they have individuals involved in more crimes than there are streets in the cities, and where they have criminally foreign influence uses of words like evidence, and they have criminally foreign influence readings of statutes involved. Now, where and how they left witch trials out, real or made up, beyond the extent we know that they're made up, from how they left that out of the subject when they bring up the subject slavery, and when slavery is brought up, how they leave out witch trials is critical here. Now, this is also relevant to how everyone doesn't realize and know about how George Washington had to come to Wethersfield, Connecticut to counter what had roles with slavery, distinctly in the North and the South, and through counters to everything that evil was, it was a real cause consciously, methodically, effectively of negative value nature progressions, acts in nature. Acts like predicate acts, nature like criminal insidiousness, nature's wrongdoing itself. So Sans itself is long, not needed work. Each stupid jerk to play. Many bread! So WFSB recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed people next to them are involved with wire crime acts and methods with courts and police forms with them, including these are people with military, foreign, and domestic. They have roles with a whole bunch of people with the names next to their location. There were also other, YouTube channels and things like that with the intelligence community and the military, foreign, and domestic. See, every punk and it's one thing if you want to sacrifice your country and then even then you want to make it mean what it doesn't mean. You want to get involved with other people's conversations. It's too easy for people like that to exploit the hostage where they have sickly distinctly the presidents. If you try to help one from it, they're still locked in locations, areas, and states. Have complete possession over the A, therefore B. Syntactical treatments of the Democrats, leaders, and of the Republicans, and of the exceptions. And that the nature is as criminal insidious in this nature. It is as natures of positive that were designed specifically to have them valued as criminal insidiousness natures of means to cause positive value nature progressions acts in nature, as means effectively propagated to have them to have self-cultivated a base better than perfectly enslaved and pretending others, screening it, etc. Vaccines. Two, you guys have sick uses of names. That's one of the things. Follow mandated law and stay on what I said to you. Make sure you get them onto paper because they've been using the little kids' campuses, intercities with this. Hey! Two with people. Watch out with people associated with this. Luigi Guerrero, make sure I had not one conversation in my life. Try to make a fake exception and pretend to know me. These are one of the people associated with FBI names associated directly and indirectly with FBI and military and intelligence community all along Burnham Turnpike, all along Elm Streets in Wethersfield and Rocky Hill, are involved on and off shopping centers, with as the people involved with the names, with sequence shifts, with the judges switching names, putting little sick fake punk wire crime rolls, identity theft crime rolls. These are sick men and women involved with little abuses of girls and making people uses of the others' names, lying about passions and emotions for it and motivations for it through time. There's an identity theft / fraud / slander method. They have little remote uses of black and white families, the black and the KKK themed, Confederate flag themed military families, and their roles with a whole bunch of countries on and off these campuses, teaching about criminal justice and stuff like that. Criminally foreign influence uses of their databases of themselves differentially, not wanting to be criminally foreign influence delusions raw, tactically delusions raw, but increasingly so, self-valuing it too simultaneously. The exception dates were already propagated for it, per what I caught them doing between the campuses connected through time. Prepare your mind. So a bunch of people from associated with on-off Town Line Drive have also been speaking into my YouTube videos through time. They're involved with New Britain Superior Court has a whole bunch of Facebook pages. They started making right after one of them. They have one of the stewards of their Facebook page and Hartford Court's Facebook pages and members of their families. They have roles on off campuses with criminally foreign influence uses of Facebook pages that are some even women roles with their sexually natured crimes against little kids and medical nature. Now these are courts members. These are lawyers that have been fabricating audio and video. There are lawyers associated with the Connecticut news media and people that with the time to add placements that are involved with the intelligence community. A whole bunch of people with the intelligence community recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, and a Joe Aiello, and a Demaro family that are near schools in Hartford through time, as one of the ones involved with schools in Cromwell, in Rocky Hill, and Wethersfield. They have roles with Central Connecticut State University, with foreign and domestic families that have roles with various natures of abuses of little boys and girls, identity thefts and fraud, little tricks. They have roles with uses of the corners on Fairlane, corner of Fairlane Drive and Carriage Hill with a Heather Hansen and a Joe Demaro, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, rolls with various natures of federal evidences, crime, nature of identity thefts and frauds, and they involve the Klotz family over there, and how they have roles with a whole bunch of Asian countries and O'Brien families with the executive branch as one of the ones involved with a Judge Smith, a Judge Killian, and their families and neighbors involved with some child offenders on off Weathersfield locations next to the schools. Names next to the schools are involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders, wire crimes, like falsified police reports, speaking things at locations, as for example, to the extent of how where they use truths for lies to make it look like someone responded, make it look like there was a sequence before that. Now, these are people also involved with on my street since I was a kid with various natures of violence, various natures of identity theft, fraud, slanders, instances, and uses of those names that I don't know, where some of them made exceptions and some of them just made confessions. Like a Joshua Julian, he's one of the ones with the Weathersfield Principal Child Offenders Campus. So they have the police forms. There are some Mendez. There's a Mendez, an Eric Mendez. His brother uses different names, and he's involved with there's also a Bob Chase, a Robert Chase or Bob Chase, associated with various natures of courts, and he has crimes with his patients and criminals and against innocent people. He's hiring lab progress, involved all kinds of medical racketeering, even roles with his patients and criminals with crimes. So he has roles like crime scenes from his own with forensics locations. Also involved with fact-checking nature federal crimes with a Joshua Julian. Also involved with threats to break in houses and roles with spying on people on my area through time, where they're using truths for lies and for illusions. They're making people say things that make it sound, they're playing games where you guys won't look because you won't follow my law. They're forging names, switching it to branch. They're pretending they believe we have to sue for rights, but simultaneously knowing we can't sue until we get them on paper. So they've been hiding this from Judge Napolitano. And/or with them, because Fox News, this is through administrations. I've been asking since before the World Trade Center attack for what I caught the people of the World Trade Center involved with interstates. Central has roles with Florida, with a whole bunch of people with the name Scalora are involved with federal crimes with kids interstates and with on and off campuses with some doctors, foreign and domestic, and sexual cliques with overt criminal enterprises and their extended family members, per one of the Joe DeMoros, in front of one of the Colos involved with his Phil Colo and the confessions of the Bob Chase. You guys are sick. You guys are sick, making me beg Judge Napolitano, and you guys putting fake things in databases. Better get on paper. Better fear God, too, for the Sandy Hook people involved. People with Sandy Hook campuses further recorded involved with the courts and their family members. We'll examine how they have the women involved with sick crimes with the little girls. Sick fake punks. Hey, military! Make sure I get them on paper. Make sure they get on paper with the military ones, too. Don't make it worse. WFSB, get on, fix the fake news, and get that Roger Suzanne fired. And make sure I get the name of who told him to fake conversation with me. Because I know he didn't do it on his own. Make sure you hurry up and get me a response. Because a whole bunch of other campuses involved with it. You fake punks. Make sure you get them on paper. If you made a mistake because you heard what someone else has said, then be a man or woman like Christine. I know you can be better than that. Make sure you get them on paper with that police chief Cintron, his daughter. Don't fear her. Don't fear her. She's in trouble. I never had anything to do with her in my life. Make sure. And if once you want to apologize for that rat bag husband she has. That make sure he doesn't pretend he knows me with that fake exception on Wells Road. Has something to do with people on off Paul Manafort Drive, CCSU, involved with CNN sources, Fox News sources, MSNBC sources, involved with sick fake crime methods, sick real crime methods, more than there are streets in our cities. Fear God to hide the plot. I rap a lot. Who disbelieves? Pick one name in sequence and don't sit there trying to pretend, oh, well, this is the behavior of the people because these are the people respond. These people are involved with it. See how that guy brought up with the name Smith too, brought up that Town Line Drive spot. Fear God, fear God.